Hi, I'm Leigh Halliday, and today we're going to be working with Google Maps in React using hooks. Let's get started by just rendering the map out on the screen. Right now we have a div that says the word map, and if we go look, that's what we see, just the word map. So to get started, we need to use this Google Map provider, and the package we're working with to sort of help us with Google Maps in React is Google Maps React Hooks by Ubi Labs. So if we replace this div with the Google Map provider, we need to provide it with three things for it to render a map. The first thing is the Google Map API key. So we'll say Google Maps API key, and that will be equal to process.env dot. And I already set up the variable here in my .env.local file, and we'll copy that over. So we paste this here, and if we are to look, we don't have a map yet. So the second thing we need are some initial options set up. So we'll say options are equal to map options, and that doesn't exist yet. So we'll come up here and we'll say map options. So Google Maps, for it to render correctly the first time, you need the zoom level and you need a center location. So we'll put it around in Toronto, which is 43.68 for the latitude, and longitude is minus 79.43. So it's still not working. The third thing we need is basically a div or a container to render the map into. So we're going to set up a div here that we'll be making our container. And what we need to do is basically get a reference to this div into state. So we'll be working with our first hook, and that will be the useState hook. So we are going to put the map container into some state. And so the first one is the actual value. The second one is a function we can call to change it. And useState will just start off as null. So you use state whenever you want React to re-render when that value changes. So to get a ref to this div into state, we're going to say ref, and you can pass in a function to this ref prop. So it will receive the node, and we'll take that node, the HTML DOM node, and put that into our map container state. So we'll say set map container, and that will be the node just like that. So we need to now come and tell Google Map Provider about this container. So we can say here, the map container is the map container. Now, we're almost there. We're just missing one thing. This div has no height yet. It's 0 pixels tall, so we just need to come here and give it a height of 100 VH. So once we do that, we have maps up and running, and that only took a couple minutes to get going. But we want to cover a few additional hooks. So we already looked at useState. We want to see useEffect and useRef. And we're also going to use useGoogleMap hook, which comes from the package we're working with. So we are going to render out a component that doesn't exist. So we'll go and create it right here. And what this is going to do is show two inputs that allow the user to enter latitude and longitude, and that will change where a marker shows up on the map. So the first thing we need is some state to store the latitude and longitude. So lat and set lat is equal to useState, and we'll start it out in Toronto again, so .68. And longitude and set longitude is useState, and that is minus 79.43. And now we want to basically return the two inputs that render out this state and allow the user to change it. So we're going to say return a div. And I set up a class that we can position this div sort of in the middle at the top. So we just need to use a class called lat-long. And in here, we'll put the two inputs. So input, we're going to do a type of number because we're collecting latitude and longitude. Its value is going to be lat in this case. And whenever it changes, so on change, we want to take the event and then put the event's target, so the input itself, into state. So set lat will be the event.target.value, just like that. So if we come and look back at our map, we now see the latitude rendering out here. Two small tweaks I want to do. I want to change the step value. So when you press up or down, right now it goes by a full number. That's a lot for latitude or longitude. So what we'll do is we'll change the step to be 0.01. And I also just want to make sure that this, which is coming to me as a string, actually gets saved as a float. So we'll just say parse float before you save the state. Okay, so now when I hit up and down, it goes by just a 0.01 decimal place. So let's get two of these for the longitude as well. Just copy and paste that. It's longitude, and then this would be set longitude. So now we have them both, but they're not doing anything yet. So we're going to start by rendering to the console, or just log into the console whenever those values change. And anytime you hear that sort of, I want something to happen when this state changes, that is the useEffect hook. So the way it works is you say useEffect, you pass in a function, and that function is called anytime any of the values in this dependencies arrays changes. So we'll say latitude or longitude. Anytime these change, log the latitude and longitude. So now we can come back here and we see it rendering out. And anytime they change, either one of them, it renders the new latitude and longitude. So now I want to position a marker. And I need two things to be able to do that. The first thing is I need the actual Google map itself to put the marker onto. So we can use the built-in hook from this package, useGoogleMap, and that gives us an object that has a map reference on it. So we'll just call that. And we also want to basically store the marker in some variable somewhere. And we've previously used state and the useState hook which re-renders anytime that state changes. But in this case, we're going to use a reference, which is a place to store data where it doesn't trigger a re-render. And we don't want to re-render anytime the marker changes in this case. So what we're going to do is we're going to say marker ref is equal to useRef. Perfect. So we're going to use useEffect again to create the marker for the first time. So we'll say useEffect, and I want this to happen when the map changes, because Google Maps takes a second to initialize, so the first time it renders, we actually don't have a map. So what we want to do is we want to say, if there's no map, return, because I can only set up a marker and put it on the map if I have a map to work with. So what we'll now do here is we'll say marker ref.current. That's how you change the value of a reference. We'll say that's equal to new google.maps.marker with a big M. And we're going to tell it what map to put itself onto, just like that. Now, we only really want to do this once. So why don't we say if there's no map, or if there's already a marker, return. So that will make sure it only happens once. And now what we want to do is come down and set the position of our marker anytime the latitude and longitude change. So we're going to pass the map in here as a dependency. And we're going to do a couple checks, sort of. We don't need to position the marker if these things are true. So the first thing is if there is no marker yet. So if there's no marker ref.current, return. The second thing we want to do is make sure that latitude and longitude are in fact numbers. So what we'll just do is we'll use if is not a number, the latitude, or not a number, the longitude, return, because we don't want to try to position it for invalid coordinates. So if both of those things are true, what we can do is we can say marker ref.current, and then we'll call a function on it called setPosition, where you can pass in the latitude and the longitude of the marker. So if I come back here now, I have the marker rendering out on the screen, and as I change the latitude or longitude, it's calling the useEffect function and repositioning the marker. And we could go one step further and actually move the whole map whenever this changes, because if it's sort of off the screen now. Maybe we want the map to move along with it. So what we can do is we can say map.pan2, and we can pass it in again the latitude and longitude. So we'll save that, and now whenever I change the latitude and longitude, the map and the marker move along with it, and we're still logged into the console, so we could come and just clean up that. And now we have a Google map rendering in React, and we've used a few different built-in hooks. We used useState to store a value that causes a re-render. We used useRef to store a value that doesn't cause a re-render. And the last one we used is useEffect, which causes something to happen when a value changes. And we used a custom hook that comes from the package that helps us with Google Maps and React to give us this reference to the actual Google map. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Bye.